Hello.
Hi, are we okay?
Yes, we're live
Hello
now.
and happy living. This is yep. Hello everyone. I hope you are having a healthy life, a happy life, a safe life. And on behalf of TLR now, that is Team Leap and Roar, I'm really happy to be here with you on this another session. This is going to be a lovely session on the Ask Me Anything. But before I go ahead and introduce to you my guest, whom you can see right now, we'll come to him. We are a coaching, mentoring, and training platform, and we facilitate learning programs for colleges, organizations, businesses, corporates, range trainers, coaches, mentors on the same platform, and we fulfill all of our growth, your and our growth and learning needs. Coming to the session today, now I have a very interesting person with me today, and his name is Jasper. Difficult to pronounce. Fortown. I don't know whether I've pronounced it correctly or not, but anyway, let's say and keep it to Jasper. And he is a transformation officer, a mentor, a blogger, a public speaker, a panelist, and all the list is really long. And the interesting part about Jasper is that he has various very interesting corporations like Spotify and Netflix, and has worked and collaborated to create multi-dollar partnership channels, looking to generate alternative revenue channels and streams. And he loves books, and he says that he draws inspiration from some of the books that even I like Good to Great, Getting Things Done, The Art of doing things twice in half the time, Seven Habits of the Highly Effective People, and so on and so forth. Jasper is from Netherlands. However, now he calls India his home. So let's ask him what he has to say about living in India, working in India, and what advice he has for us today. So, hi, Jasper. How are you doing? Welcome to the platform.
Doing fine. Thank you very much. How is Mumbai treating you? There's kind of an echo online, but I hope Mumbai is treating you well.
Yeah, there seems to be a activity issue. Hear me.
Yeah, I think there's.
Jasper, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, and I think there is some network issue at your side. So maybe I should just tell a little bit about myself and saying hi to all of you at home viewing this. As you rightly said, I'm from the Netherlands, and I've been in India for 3.5 years now. Started my Indian journey in November 2016. Still enjoying every day of it. And yes, the Corona crisis is hard and is actually changing the objective of my work currently. So I'm really hoping that things will become normal in a few weeks. But up to now, I've been really enjoying myself here in India. So what is your situation, Nidhi? Can you hear me now? Yes, everything.
Yeah, I am there now. I can see you. I can hear you. Thank you for filling in. I think my Wi-Fi dropped for some reason.
Okay.
Okay, so Jasper, you were telling us about yourself and you coming to India. What is fascinating me is that you come from a very cold, not very cold, but rather serene, beautiful, calm, and cold country, windy country. How does hot and humid India treat you?
I mean, it feels a bit odd to say, but really, India is my second home country. I really love being here, and I really started to enjoy even the honking and the IST because I fell in love with the country. I fell in love with the culture. And yes, it's completely opposite to the way we do things in the Netherlands, where everything is well organized, well planned, everything is clean and neat. But still, when I go back, it feels like a bit boring when I'm in the Netherlands. It's because it's so well organized, you know? Yeah,
Yeah,
it is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It is. It's a beautiful country, and yes, we are uh, warm and hot and rather dynamic here. There's lots of shades and textures going on. So great. I'm glad that you like it here and you're dealing well with the heat. How are you dealing with Indian professionals? You've been working here for the last 4 years, isn't it? And how has that been for you?
Well, the journey up to now has been really amazing, and we employ roughly 400, 500 people right now in India, and every individual is a highly skilled, up to the mark professional, and I'm really admire working with those professionals. And yes, there are differences between the way we look at things and the way the Indian people look at things, but I would not say this is right or this is wrong, you know, because the Indian folks, they accuse us, Dutch folks, of being a bit straightforward, offensive, saying yes and saying no. Whereas
Yeah,
we, as Dutch people, are accusing the Indian people of being too neutral. Like, okay, just say no, you know. But
you can
so
actually say so.
yeah, but both are fine, you know. So there is no right or wrong, and I really want to understand why they are doing it, and there is a reason for it, you know. The way people are taught over here in universities and schools is completely opposite on the way we were taught in our schools. And as I said, there is no wrong and right.
Correct. Cultural diversities always play a role, you know. I mean,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
fact, I was just having this discussion with another webinar that I was doing for a company, and we were discussing about exactly the same difference on how some people, some cultures, you're straight and considered to be blunt, whereas in India, you never say something straight, and you keep wondering why can't you get to the point. Well, so that's kind of an interesting, I guess, experience that you're having with us. I hope you have learned to cope with those things. You just mentioned that you have 400-500 people working for your company. I got a little confused. You're doing a lot of public speaking, and I thought you were working on your own. So are you collaborating with people?
No, so I am employed by a Dutch company,
Okay.
which is called a royal company because we're a kingdom. So it's a royal company. It's a telecom operator. So we provide network-related services for our clients in the Netherlands. However, during my time here in India, I want to give back something to the society, and that's the reason why I started doing public speaking
Mhm.
and mentoring. So I started mentoring a couple of young professionals, actually all across India. So I have a couple of mentees here in Pune, but I'm also working with some people in Delhi and in Bangalore. So I'm mentoring these professionals and actually helping them in their transformation journey. And
Wow.
in addition, I'm also doing some public speaking on numerous topics. So I've talked to 200 MBA students in Punjab about personal transformation, about personal branding, and these are really the topics that are close to me. I really believe in personal branding, and moreover, I believe in personal transformation. I also talked a couple of times about female leadership because I think India is moving into the right direction, but there's still a big opportunity for female leaders, and I'm supporting that. You know, so every time when people ask me to come and talk, I will do that.
Good. So that's really interesting to hear that you're supporting female leadership. Um, very interesting. So you use two words which I myself relate to very strongly, and I believe that unless we seek to grow, I believe psychologically anyway, you are always seeking self actualization, whether you like it or not. So the more you focus on it, the better it gets. So The words that you use is personal transformation and personal branding. You said both of them in the same breath. So I just want to talk to you a little bit there. Is what comes first, personal branding or
No,
performance?
no, 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 no. Actually, personal branding comes last. I mean, if you don't have a story to tell, you can't do anything on personal branding. So, personal
Right,
transformation is the first thing you will need to start. And within
right,
your professional transformation or personal transformation journey, at some point, you could say, I want to do a little bit more, or I want to do some a personal branding. And I am a strong believer on personal branding. I believe that it will get you somewhere, and if you have a story to tell, it will give you a lot of credibility.
right. So I
Yeah.
think unless you actually choose to grow and enhance yourself, there really is no story. So it's not a chicken and egg story kind of a thing, but it is the chicken actually leads to that egg, which is called the personal branding. Great.
Yeah.
So personal transformation, since it comes first, and that's where we need to start. And our session is called performance framework. So getting that into that aspect. Uh, why is this space so important?
Well, I think it's important because if you look at the way people are taught on universities, so they're taught in their specific area. In your case, psychology or engineering or stuff like that. But there is never a course on how to deal with people in the workspace, or
Absolutely, I agree.
how to deal with all the distractions that are coming to us on a daily basis or on a minute basis. And this is where personal transformation actually starts. It starts with, like, it started in my case, it started with frustration because every time I went back home and I thought, like, okay, I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do, and at the
Right,
same time I also wanted to upscale myself. So
right,
it's actually, for personal transformation is maybe also like you need to reinvent yourself, and define possible attention areas or improvement areas. Um, and you can start or professional transformation at the beginning of your career. You can also say, okay, after a couple of years, I want to transform myself. And that's the biggest thing, it's the biggest thing, because you should not do it if you're feeling okay. And there also should be an end goal, because personal transformation, first of all, it's a journey, and you also need to have something in mind what you want to achieve.
uh, okay. So what is coming to my mind from what I'm hearing you say is that we need to have a desire to grow and get to some place. um, uh, wouldn't that mean that I also need to have a certain amount of self exploration? I need to look within, because where I want to go is ultimately an outcome of you know who I am and what is it that I want to achieve, and hence I would look at enhancing myself or developing myself or changing myself and so on and so forth. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. So what I always tell people, my mentees, but also my staff over here in India, it starts with an ambition, and this ambition could be a professional one within your company, like the next year I want to achieve these things, or it could be a bigger plan, like in 5 years I want to become this person. And it's actually a simple game, but it's also a challenging game, because you actually need to write down your new me. If you really want to write down a professional development plan, and I'm talking about the professional development plan. So you need to design, or write down your desires, and where you want to be in 1 year in your job or further on in life. So it all starts there.
Where did it start for you? Because I sense a story, and you said a very powerful thing that, I mean, there has to be a desire to go there. So where did you start? I mean, if you're willing to tell us that.
Yes, of course, of course. So I have two plans, and that is my professional plan. That is my work-related plan. So that is a thing that I always renew or create at the beginning of the year, and it's based upon three pillars and three areas where I really want to grow. Within those pillars, I actually come up with things to work on these improvement areas. So this is my professional plan. So I also work on a longer term plan, and actually I've created this new me, and this is like this dream person that I want to become in like 2 or 3 years. And it's going to be challenging because in some areas I really need to improve. And how do I improve? By creating those improvement areas. And one of the areas we already mentioned, and that is personal branding. But the other thing is, in my case, I want to become a thought leader, which is a kind of a heavy thing. And I want to become a thought leader in way of working. That means Scrum, Agile, Kanban. So as a result, I actually came up with a lot of things that I want to learn. So I want to read a lot of books. I need to sign myself up for courses on Kanban and Scrum because I said to myself, I want to become this thought leader. So you really need to push yourself and put things on your to-do list because otherwise it's not going to work. However, it all starts with this ambition, and it also starts with a plan.
Great. So, yes, I agree. It starts with an ambition and it has to have a plan. Um, I'm going to take you back on what you just said a couple of seconds or a minute ago, and you said the new me. Um, so, is it true that are you saying not true? Are you saying that for us to be able to transform, I have to shed what was the old me and I have to recreate something? Or, I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
as of today, it does have it is me it is me today which has the potential. It is me today who has the need to grow, need to achieve something and have ambitions. So do I have to create a new me? Is it necessary?
Well,
Is that what the transformation means really?
it's almost impossible to create a new me, but you can create a better picture, a better version of yourself, most definitely.
Better version of yourself, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of my key phrases about working in the corporate world is that likability is one of the strongest currencies in the corporate world, which means you should not be a yay-sayer. You should not say yes every time.
Absolutely.
But if you don't have the likability factor, things are going to be really, really awful in the corporate world. It's going to be really challenging. So that means, in some cases, some people need to polish themselves because they're so aggressive in meetings or so. Whereas I say you should not be aggressive while making your point, and you can actually make your point without losing your likability factor.
Absolutely, absolutely. There is a fine line between aggression and assertion. Absolutely, I agree with you. Same thing can be said in a positive, better manner.
Yeah, yeah. So
So
true.
better me.
So it is a better version of yourself. And what people always ask me, like, yeah, but I want to make a career. I want to become a manager. And I will always tell them like, okay, a university degree will get you the job on ground level, and soft skills will get you the management position. And soft
Absolutely.
skills is not a thing that is being taught on universities.
No, no,
So
not at all.
you need to teach it yourself, or to talk to trainers like you, or to coaches. And
Yeah.
being a corporate guy for 15 years now, I know that soft skills is key if you want to survive in the corporate world.
Absolutely, absolutely. Jasper, enough and more research that constantly tells us that skills can only get you the job, and the success and thereafter is all based on the soft skill. And it continues to say that I rather have a high EQ professional rather than a high IQ professional. So,
Yes,
yes.
yes, yeah, true.
So coming to the framework that we wanted to discuss, and I just wanted to talk about transformation so people understand that I don't have to necessarily completely shed who I am to become something, seeking something that I'm not even sure of. So that new version you really put it very well. So coming to the professional framework that you have, and we discussed this, in the last 2 days that we've been talking about it. Why don't you start telling us something about that, and then kind of explain to us how that works, how can it enhance our performance and help us transform and get us to where we want to really go?
Okay, so let me go back a couple of years ago. I thought I was really successful in my job. I was heading the long-term innovation roadmap for our TV offerings within the company. But every time, as I said earlier, I came home with a full mailbox, and I really was frustrated because I couldn't do the things that I wanted to do on that particular day. So I started reading books about productivity, personal improvement, transformation, and actually slowly I started implementing some things that actually changed my professional life, till a certain point that I thought it might be interesting to tell other people about my method. And there are hundreds of books about personal transformation, personal success, which are really interesting. But I wanted to share the story of my personal transformation and the way I work, which is partly based upon science, because I really believe that there are some scientific elements in the way you should work, and there are some personal things. And I think for some people it is, if they got to know about my philosophy, they can pick and choose, and should design their own way of working. And let me start by describing some history, and some where we came from as human beings. So 10 years ago, almost a really small group of people only had a smartphone. Nowadays, in the professional world, everyone has a smartphone. 100 years, we only had a friend circle of 10, 15 people because we were living in a village. And now some people have 500 friends on Facebook and 3,000 connections on LinkedIn. As human beings, so the world around us changed, but we haven't changed. And we need to deal with this new reality. So one of the things that I really advocate and really advise people to do is get away of all the distractions. So switch off all the notifications on your mobile phone. Switch off all the notifications on your inbox, because distraction is toxic and it's killing your productivity. So that is also part of my framework, and to emphasize a little bit more, because I was looking for a name and I thought professional fame framework That sounds a little sexy, but it's true because it could bring you fame. And it's also a framework because it's a set of attributes and a set of things you should do, and a set of things how you should organize your day to become more productive and more successful. That was a long
So
answer.
that's okay. I'm sure you put it in practice and you have enough and more, results and examples to cite that it works. I'm sure it works. Why don't you tell us, take us maybe in a small bit from step 1 to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe our viewers can or listeners can benefit from
Yeah.
that.
Okay. So one of the things that I really believe that everything what you're doing in life, or everything that you're dealing with on a daily basis, should get a place, because otherwise you're walking around with this thing in your head like, okay, I should call this one or should call that one. So the basics should be in order, and the basics in my case is a to-do list manager, and you can use an online version, but you can also use a pen and paper. That's one thing. The other thing is, which also should clear your mind, is you should have an organized file system. That means everything should be filed in a proper way that you can actually find it really easily. And that means an inbox, that means your phone, that means everything that you're using in a professional manner. Then we already talked about the plans, because it should start with a plan. And the plan is a thing that can actually come back on a weekly basis. So what I do is I schedule to review my plans on a weekly basis. And on a weekly basis, I initiate things based upon the plans that I have. And these things are flowing from the plan to my to-do list manager. And the reason for it is I should never have the feeling like, okay, what should I need to do today? No, no, no. It is all there. It is all in my to-do list. So I will start my day with a to-do list for the things that I need to do today. And I also start my day because I prepared my agenda for the next day. So at the end of Monday, I need to prepare the agenda for the next day in order to start fresh. I can talk for hours about the whole framework.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a thought in mind. I myself, when I coach clients, one of the things I tell them is the rule of 10 and 30, that 10 minutes every day and 30 minutes every week, that you need to spend time introspecting, looking at what you've done and what you're going to do. Because that to me, that space is very, very sacred. I mean, unless you put in that effort to know what you have done, how will you improve or do what you did good, how will you continue doing it? But my question is, so recently I read the, 5 choices. That's the latest offering from the COVID stable.
Yeah.
And in fact, I run some sessions also on that. Neither good nor bad. It's just my question now to you is that how is what you're saying different or same with what they're saying? I mean, it's essentially the same thing,
It is the same thing, and that is the reason, because the COVID book, the original COVID book, was written 20, 30 years ago, and actually it is. I mean, you can read it, and it's still really, really valuable for a lot of people, because as I said earlier, we haven't changed. The world around us has changed, and we need to deal with this on a daily basis. So no, there are not a lot of new elements in my framework, because humans have been here for quite some time now, and we haven't changed. So
sorry.
Yeah, no. So humans have been here for quite some time now. So there are no real fundamental new things. But
No, yeah,
there is one thing that I would like to
all
highlight. Yeah, there's one thing that I would like to highlight, and that is the difference between time management and focus management. So one of my key
focus
beliefs,
management.
yeah,
I like
yeah,
that word.
yeah.
Yes, tell us
So
about that. Focus
yeah,
management.
yeah. So David Alling's method, getting things done, is a
Getting things
really
done.
good way. Is a really good way in dealing with everyday things like an email, somebody calling you. So his simple rule is: can you do it in 5 minutes? Just do it directly, or otherwise file it, plan it, or ask somebody to pick it up. What I'm trying to say
Delegate.
with delegated. What I'm
Yeah.
trying to say with focus management versus time management is, if you look at the human brain and what we can do in a day, there are two mindsets, and that is based upon the book of Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow. So if you're cycling, you're not thinking about cycling. You can think about many other things, but in some cases you need to be focused, and that is where your value as a professional comes in. However, this is a really exhausting way of working. You can't be focused the entire day. That will be an energy drain. So you need to really define your focus management, focus time slots in a day. So what I always do is, sometimes I don't. I have like 2 hours not without any meetings. I just need to execute a couple of things, and then what I do, I put on some music. This is just my the things that I need to do. That doesn't work. The music doesn't work if I really need to do some strategic thinking, and that is the deep work or the focused work. There's a book about deep work. It's the same. It's by Carl Newport, and it is also about this focused work. So if you look at your agenda and if you look at the things that you need to do, think about, where do I need to be really focused? And I think a couple of years ago, I was really, I really got this focus work, because on a Monday or Tuesday, I came back home really exhausted. And after reviewing my calendar, I actually noticed that on these particular days, I was chairing a lot of meetings. So I had like 4 or 5 meetings. And if you're chairing a meeting, you need to be really focused, because you need to get to
Yeah, of course.
people a voice, etc., etc.
Yeah.
That is really,
It's an exhausting space.
yes. So I actually changed my calendar to make sure that some of these chairing meetings will move to another day, and that really helped me in my in becoming more productive, because it was just simply not possible to be that focused the entire day.
Absolutely. So what I'm hearing you say, Jasper, is very interesting. That unless you actually focus on and understand how and where you are spending your time,
Yes.
uh, you will never know what are your time eaters or energy, energy sappers and things like that. So how does this take to transformation? I mean, how does that help us?
Well, it helps us to become a new me, but it also helps us to actually become more successful, and to finish more things, because people are struggling, you know. So when I'm saying get rid of all the distractions, I'm actually saying, like, if you're focusing on a specific task and you need to finish something which is a bit complicating, switch off your phone, sit in a room, don't look at your email box, because it's going to distract you. So there's been a lot of research about productivity and things that will get you distracted, and the switching from one task to another is an energy drain. So for instance, I'm focusing on a specific task and somebody calls me, and I'll pick up the phone and he start talking and I start responding. So my attention moves to this conversation. It will cost me a lot of energy to go back to this focused work. So that is my message to a lot of people is, if you're in focused work, get rid of all the distractions, because it's really toxic.
In fact, there is that rule that mind anyway cannot take more than 25 minutes. So you focus on your task completely for 25 minutes, take a break of 5 minutes,
Yeah.
and then go back. And that cycle kind of helps the mind to remain refreshed. I mean, So is that what you're saying, that you give yourself a break or do multitasking, not do multitasking?
So multitasking is the motivational equivalent of lending money. You're getting the results now, but you're paying a hefty price later. So multitasking doesn't exist, and people will say, "Yeah, I'm a good multitasker." They're actually lying. It's not true. And if you're in a meeting and you don't bring any value, get rid of the meeting. Remove yourself from the meeting. So that is also my personal belief. If somebody invites me for a meeting, I should add value. I'm not there just to say hi, hello, and answer one of the questions at the end of the meeting. I should add value. So limit the number of people in a meeting. And as I said earlier, multitasking is not going to work.
I am absolutely with you on that one. It doesn't work. I keep burning food because I multitask all the time. And yes, I can absolutely vouch. It's an energy drainer, and definitely doesn't add to our performance and anything that you are looking at achieving productivity. So you seem to have read a lot. So are there any books that people can read to understand what you're saying better? Are there any courses people can do? What can you do? Because people, not everybody can just do like a self-starter. It's not that easy. So is there help available for people that they can actually teach themselves something like this?
Of course, and obviously they can start talking to a coach, and they can tell them what they should do or not. But I also believe that it should come from yourself, and reading, of course, is a really good way to find new ways and to find the insights that you sometimes need. I mean, there are so many books that I've read which are interesting, and there are even more books that I still want to read. But I mean, a couple of the evergreens from a psychological point is Daniel Kahneman's Thinking Fast and Slow. And Daniel Kahneman is an Israeli Pulitzer Prize professor, and he actually tells about the two different brain systems, and like the cycling example that I mentioned. I also read a lot about ways of working, so about Agile and Scrum and Kanban, and which is more of a prescribed method to work and actually be productive in a team setting, in a corporate setting. And the funny thing is, because if you talk about Scrum and Kanban, people are always saying, yeah, but that is in IT. But actually, you can use a lot of these principles in your own life, and also in a non-IT environment. So For instance, in Agile and Scrum, there is no leader. There's no manager.
That's also IT kind of related, so but that
Yeah,
works.
there
Yeah.
is no leader, and everybody in a team should feel the freedom to speak up and to say no. Which in my case, I really believe that is a really good thing. And the other thing in Scrum and Agile is that Scrum and Agile is saying like, okay, if things are too complicated, you need to slice it, and you can also think about slicing up your professional transformation plan. Because if you start and saying like, okay, in 3 years time I want to become the CEO of a big company, it's really hard to know where to start. And Agile and Scrum are actually say, yeah, advocating like, okay, you really need to slice it. One of the other evergreens is a book called From Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Yes.
And that is one of the scientific based business books, and actually also tells the story about, okay, how should companies can actually change their strategy. And one of the things that was really inspiring to read is it starts with people. You can't say, okay, we're going to define a strategy and later on we'll find the people. And he is actually saying is no, you should first find the people, and together you should create the strategy. Because also there is a lot more buy-in if you do it like this. One of the other books that I really like is Daniel Pink's Drive, and Drive describes actually why are people working, and why are some people doing a great job, and that has to do with three things. That has to do with autonomy. People want to have an autonomous place to work. They need to have a purpose. So then there needs to be a really clear purpose about the bigger thing of the company, and it's also about craftsmanship. So you should work on your craft, whatever it is. If you're a carpenter, you should work on your craftsmanship, and if you're an engineer, you also should work on your craftsmanship. So, I mean, I've just picked up a couple of books, but I can go on and on by talking about really influential books. Yes.
So the professional framework that you're supporting and that you say helps us to get what we want. Is there a training program that one can do, or how does it work?
Yeah, no. So it's not a training program, and for me, everything what I'm doing in India is on a pro bono basis. So if people want to want me to come and talk to them, it's on a pro bono basis. So I'm doing everything for free, and I'm doing because I really like it, and doing it because I really like to engage with people and to tell them what I know and tell them about my beliefs. So as I said earlier, I'm working with a couple of young professionals, and I'm mentoring them. And I'm mentoring them based upon this professional framework. And in some cases, it's a bit of a pick and choose. Some people need to have a little bit more knowledge. So I'm helping them to obtain the knowledge. And in some cases, I'm focusing a little bit more on personal branding, which is also one of the things that I really love talking about. So it's not a course, it's not a program. It is a journey, and if people want to start a journey, I'm always there. So people can find me online. They can find me on LinkedIn, and everyone can connect me and send me a message.
Great. So that's a great offer, everyone. I mean, if you want to take advantage of that, Jasper is available. Please look him up on LinkedIn, and I'm sure he will do whatever that you need to go with the journey on your journey. And so Jasper, once we start with the journey, there needs to be an end, and I do understand the end happens, with the last breath that we take. And yet, is there a destination that people have? Will this journey actually lead me to that destination? Will I actually be successful? Let's be honest, we all want to be successful. So eventually, I want to transform only because there is that light at the end of the tunnel, and I am in that light. So will I be in that light?
Yeah,
Has
I
it
mean,
got into that space?
yeah. I mean, I think if you're on a journey and you're really willing, it will definitely bring you success. But the most important thing is that you are taking the helm of your own career, because that is a really important thing. And if you're willing to take the helm, and if you're willing to define your plans, and if you're willing to pick up the task to improve yourself, I mean, that is half of the success, because that will give you the confidence on a daily basis that I am working on myself, and I am making myself fit for this CEO role. And as I said earlier, I mean, it is okay for you to have the ambition to become a CEO, but it's also okay to have the ambition to become the best chaiwala of Pune or the best chaiwala of Mumbai. I'm not saying like, okay, I should be successful in a corporate world, because some people, they just don't want to become a CEO or a manager, but they want to become the best in their field, in their area, which is also good. And you should also think that you should redefine your new me also on a yearly basis, because you also change, So if you
Of course.
defined your new me and said like in 4 or 5 years time, I want to become this person, like after 1 year, just pick up your plan and look at it and rethink like, do I still want to become that person? Because otherwise you need to change it a bit.
So what I hear you say is that if I have to summarize what I'm taking away from it is that we need to be willing to upgrade ourselves, just like our phones, or which keeps upgrading. If that can upgrade, why not us? I think we are the most beautiful machinery that there is. So upgrade yourself. Be willing to upgrade yourself. Be willing to sit down and actually focus on what you really want to do. Create
Yeah.
that journey, and you can reevaluate that journey that you want to go. And the most important thing that I heard you say, and I think um, which would give a lot of sense of relief to people, is that success is not defined by being a CEO and a CXO and see something. Success can be defined the way you choose to define that. But
Yes.
doing the best you can in whatever you feel that you're doing is what will get you the professional framework, I guess. Is that
Yes. Yes.
correct?
I think you've summarized it really well. So yeah, great.
So we still have a little bit of time, and I was wondering if you could just kind of talk a little bit more about how do we draw more inspiration? How do we get started? Most of us are scared of making goals because that means I have to make a commitment, and put the pen to the paper ultimately and say I will do this, which is the
Yeah.
scary part. So
So what I always tell people is like, because also inspiration. What is inspiration? And the funny thing is, I get my inspiration everywhere. Um, Walking in the street, looking at small things around me. It just you need to be focused. What's happening outside of you. So you can get your inspiration from everything, and that could be a smart way of selling vegetables by an Indian guy here on the vegetable market, because he thought like, okay, if I'm doing it like this, I can make more money. So that can get you inspired. Um, um, uh, and yes, I think creating a plan is a hard part because choosing is losing, and if you're choosing A, you're not choosing B. So that is really challenging for some people. But that is the thing that you really need to do because otherwise it's
There is
really hard.
always opportunity cost, isn't it?
So opportunity
I
cost,
think
exactly.
yeah, there is always an opportunity cost to everything. I mean, that comes with the choices that we have to make. So we have to
Yeah,
choose that. Yeah.
yeah.
And I
And
have
I
to make.
and I
Please go
think
ahead.
yes, and I also think that if you're defining your new me, focus on the things that you're already good in. So if you're already a good public speaker, that is a key asset, and you
Right.
should rather improve your public speaking than becoming a financial genius if you don't like finance, because that is not going to bring your success.
No, no, not really.
If you're willing to involve other people to work with you on your weakest areas, so I'm always telling people, if you're weak in something, it it doesn't mean that you can become successful. Just focus on your strength and improve your strength. So I'm also not a financial guy. So I need to work with my business controllers to deal with those matters. But I'm really good in engaging with people and give them the trust and the enthusiasm to work on something and to bring people to a new role. So that is my strength. So I'm working to improve my strength rather than to become a financial, which I think is really important, but it's not just really close to me.
So Jasper, you think it's? I mean, you might be the lucky one who has figured your strengths and what are your challenges that you really face. Um, I might be digressing a little bit here of the topic, but since you're talking about it, not even, do you think it's easy for people to be able to actually assess their strengths and their challenges?
It is not easy, and in some cases, what I personally did that was really funny is a couple of years ago is because I wanted to reinvent myself, and I started talking to people that I knew and asked them a simple question: What do you think are my strengths, and what do you think I should do? How do you see me in like 2 or 3 years? So this
Wow.
was like a really personal question, and I actually invited them for dinner. So I spent a lot of money on dinners um,
Yes.
um, because I had a question for them, and the question was like, "How do you see me? What are my strengths?" And it
Yeah, of
actually
course.
gave me some really, really clear insights. And in some cases, it was also confronting, because I had a slightly different view, and they really opened my eyes. So
Right.
you can do it yourself, but you can also use your peers around you if you're willing to open up, and opening up is also one of the key things if you want to become more successful.
Right.
Um, because if you're not willing to be open about your weaknesses, then nobody knows that you need help in some cases.
Right, right, absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of us don't, even though we have a lot of potential and capabilities, I think it just gets shut down because we're not really willing to take the feedback. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
I wouldn't like to call it criticism. I mean, if you choose to see it as a criticism, well, it is. But if you choose to see it as something that you can actually, work on and become better. I mean, yes, it will hurt like hell. There's no doubt. It really stings. I've been in those
It is
places myself.
painful.
It really
Yeah,
hurts. But then after that moment, those 3, 4, 30 seconds kind of a thing, or a minute, or whatever time you take, if you actually objectively look at it, I see it as that it gives me so much strength to be able to go past be able to withstand that onslaught. One, makes me stronger. And second, I can pick myself up and it's not as bad as you really think it is.
No,
It's not.
it's funny. It's funny that we're talking about it. So I'm working over here with a lot of people, and I'm initiating a lot of things. And in some cases, I'm working with people and I'm asking them for feedback, right?
Right.
So I'm sending them my strategy, a text or whatever. And in some cases, I get an answer like, no comments, looks fine. I'm not happy with that.
No,
It
me
doesn't look
neither.
fine. No, it
No, no,
doesn't look
no.
fine. What it tells
Yeah,
me is that this person, he or she doesn't care. And he thinks like, okay, I just want to remove this from my email box. So
yeah, yeah.
I'm not spending any time.
Yeah.
So I'm actually happy when people are really, really telling me, okay, this is okay, but in this particular case, I would advise you to do A or B. So I'm really actually encouraging people here in India, which is challenging, to be honest, to disagree with me and to give me honest feedback. Because
Right.
if they're really giving honest feedback, that means that they're on the page because they really like the initiative.
Yeah.
So that is a really thing. However, it is painful if you're not used to it. Some people think like, okay, I'm putting this all up and people are criticizing me. No, 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 no. If they're giving you feedback, you should thank them. You should thank them because they've spent time on
Thinking about it.
thinking about it, which is a good thing.
And I think being vulnerable is okay, because from being, if you're not going to be vulnerable, you will never know what your strengths are and how to
No.
stand up for that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Great session, Jasper. I really enjoyed, and we're nearly at the end of our chat session. But before I end, a couple of things that I'm taking away, and maybe the listeners can take away, is that we need to look at creating a newer version of ourselves. Considering that the world is so dynamic around us, we need to reinvent ourselves, keep us relevant, management.
That's
I think
correct.
that's an excellent word that you use, focus management. And we really need to focus on where we are prioritizing, where we are actually looking, and what are we working. Otherwise, the time will always be managing us, and we will never be managing anything else. Minimizing distraction, and but the best part of it was that I need to be open to be able to take feedback, because
Right.
unless what I heard you say is that unless I'm willing to take feedback, I can't really reinvent myself, because I don't know what to reinvent.
No, no.
So, thank you, wonderful session. I hope people
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. I definitely enjoyed it, and best of luck to you for everything.
Okay, thank you. Nice talking to you, Nidhi.
Nice
Great.
talking to you, Jasper. Take care.
Great.
Bye bye.